In a 6-2 vote early Friday morning, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly censured member Barbara Haney over a technical ethics code violation, requesting additional ethics training and fining her $1. Borough resident Kristen Shoup filed the original complaint, saying a February letter to the editor written by Haney and published in the Fairbanks Daily News Miner violated code because it did not expressly state that Haney was writing as a private citizen. The letter questioned why a pair of purported facility issues at Lathrop High School and Tanana Middle School weren't submitted to the borough's capital improvement program and invited readers to write to the school board. Shoup's complaint prompted the borough's ethics board to review the situation and conduct a hearing on June 10th. The board issued its findings in a memorandum to the Assembly, determining that the letter did technically violate code, though the board said the provision's standards have historically been transgressed by past members as well.
It's small enough for us to say there should be no penalty, but it was violated. And so I think there's some training issues.
Borough Attorney Jill Dolan laid out the code's requirements for the Assembly, which could not amend or overturn the Board of Ethics findings. That left the Assembly with a legal compass containing limited directions.
You have to impose a penalty. Code says you shall impose a penalty. And there are 3 different penalties that you can impose. And the first one is a public censure, which you define in code as a public rebuke. The second thing you can do is impose a fine. Of course, any penalty you impose needs to be both reasonable and appropriate to the offense that was committed. So consider that. And then the last thing you can do is remove a member from office.
Before deliberations began, the respondent, Haney, and complainant, Shoup, had a chance to make their case before the Assembly. Haney claimed the complaint and ensuing finding were infringing on her rights to freedom of speech. Shoup disagreed and asked the Assembly to censure Haney, fine her $1,000, and remove her from office.
So, really, what this is about is not about whether I use the 7-letter phrase. This is about attempts to destroy or rob me of my First Amendment rights to free speech outside the legislative sphere. And that is something I have the right to, period.
I made the decision to file this complaint solely on Ms. Haney's abominable behavior as a public official during her term. This is about Ms. Haney alone and her unethical behavior as a public official and the way she treats constituents and her colleagues. I do not care if Ms. Haney is mean and nasty and tells lies to her friends and families in her private life, but when she does it as a public official about borough business, both off and on the dais, then I'm going to have a problem with it, as many also do.
Assembly member Scott Crass moved to censure Haney, request further training, and fine her $1. Assembly members Brett Rottermund, Nick Leginas, and Liz Reeves de Ramos took particular issue with the $1 fine, and Leginas and Rottermund were the 2 no's on the final tally. Less than a day later, on Friday, Rottermund resigned his seat over the penalty, calling it, quote, wrong. But today, he rescinded that resignation, saying support from the community and another Assembly member convinced him to rejoin.
So my thinking started to change, and honestly, I'll give credit to Assemblymember Leginas. His text message Sunday night was the one that kind of pushed me over the edge, and it was a great text message. He basically told me to get my butt back in that chair where I belong and finish the job that you started to do.
Following his resignation, the News Miner reported that Rottermund said, "I believe many on the Assembly speak to hear themselves speak. I don't. I'm going to speak when I have something to say that's of substance." Asked today if he thought his statements would lead to fallout with some Assembly members, Rottermund said he wasn't sure.
I have spoken with Ms. Haney. I haven't spoken to anybody else. We'll have to cross that bridge, you know. That if I did upset people, we can work on that, you know. I mean, we're all human beings. We can figure that out. I think we're big boys and big girls. We can figure it out.
Rottermund says he hopes to amend the code under which the ethics violation fell. As of news time today, Haney had not responded to a voicemail asking if she planned to appeal the decision.